Ben Shapiro, in typical Ben Shapiro fashion, shared his fast-paced talking points about the State of the Union address that happened last night. And
wow, that was pretty smart of you, Anna.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Anyway, so during his commentary, he felt that it was important to bring up what he perceives as disrespectful behavior by Democrats. Take a look.
You can see in the background, if you're watching this, that Nancy Pelosi is ruffling through sheets of paper, which, by the way, is kind of rude. I mean, just if a Republican had done that while President Obama was president, there'd be endless talk about how condescending it was.
Okay, so she was shuffling papers behind Donald Trump, and I don't know what she was doing. I was amused by it. I didn't really think it was that big of a deal. And you should be paying attention to the president's speech, right? Who cares what Nancy Pelosi is doing behind him? But nonetheless, I do want to.
Can I just say, before we move on to the hypocrisy, which is going to be super fun, I don't want, if you didn't watch State of the Union, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. It's not like the entire time that for the hour and a half that Trump, the interminable speech that Trump was giving, Nancy Pelosi's like, right? No, she did that once, and we made note of it in our play-by-play, which you should always check out when there's a political event.
Yeah.
So I said, and at one point she wrote notes, and I said, man, I'd love to see what notes she just took. And that was it. It was for a short period of time. She took a note, she shuffled some papers. Can you believe it?
No, Cenk, I think you're being a big hypocrite right now, because if anybody did something like that to Obama, everybody would be really upset about it. The media would talk about it. They wouldn't let it go. They would think it was super disrespectful. Except here's the thing. There were some individuals.
Weird how smart you got there again.
Yeah, wow, you broke the IQ meter.
So there were Republicans. There were Republicans who were incredibly disrespectful to President Obama. One of them was a man by the name of Joe Wilson, who did something during Obama's State of the Union in 2009. If you don't remember, I can help refresh your memory. Take a look.
The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally.
So again, that was Republican Joe Wilson yelling, "You lie," in the middle of Obama's speech.
Because Republicans are so respectful, and they're filled to the rim with decorum. And that's why Ben's pointing it out, that the Democrats are the ruffians, the barbarians at the gate with their notes and their folders.
Which is why I support Donald Trump, a man who swears every other word and can't go a tweet without a typo.
Yeah, so when Donald Trump talks about grabbing women by the genitalia, well, that's decorum. That's decorum, okay?
Yeah.
Shuffling papers, oh my God, what has this country come to? This is just absolutely outrageous. This is why we need the insight of the intellectual dark web.
And you know what bothers them, I think, more is Nancy Pelosi's approval rating has been really bad for a really long time, but Trump and hating on him has been very good for business for Nancy Pelosi. Her approval rating has hit a new high that it hasn't been at for a really long time. And now people are making memes about her. She's cool, she's with the AOC crowd, right?
Please.
And I mean, I know, not really, but truly there's been kind of a renaissance in her public image, and they can't stand that. So that's part of why Ben Shapiro is getting triggered by paper shuffling and doing this, which shouldn't bother anyone at all.
So I think you make a really great point. I do think that they're concerned about Democrats and their newfound ability to fight back. I think that's really at the heart of what's going on, because the Democratic Party and establishment Democrats have been hating on Trump, right? That's never changed. What did change was that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer finally decided to fight. And they finally started to use the same type of strategy that you would typically see on the Republican side. And so I hope that it's a lesson establishment Democrats have learned, right? It's not simply, oh, we're hating on Trump, but we're gonna be completely weak when it comes to fighting back. They actually fought back, and it worked, So I think people on the right are concerned about that. I'm just hoping people on the left have actually learned a lesson from it.
Yeah, and finally, we get to the difference between the right and the left in terms of critique of national leaders, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. So for Obama, our critique was that the Affordable Care Act should have included a public option that would have made prices a little bit more affordable. We were right about that. He shouldn't have done signature Jones strikes. He shouldn't have gone after journalists. Their critique was he shouldn't have put mustard on a burger. He shouldn't have worn a tan suit. He shouldn't have held a coffee while saluting the Marines. Meanwhile, Trump's bowing to North Korean generals, but that is not an issue for them. Now on Nancy Pelosi, the critique is that she's actually quite conservative in protection of the status quo. Yesterday, we did a story about how her aides are going out and telling healthcare companies, don't worry, we're not gonna do Medicare for all. That is a very important topic and monumental policy in this country. And we're trying to correct the record of the wrong impression that the mainstream media has that Nancy Pelosi is some sort of progressive champion because she did the bare minimum of standing up to Trump when he is deeply unpopular. Meanwhile, the Shapiro intellectual argument on the right is she shuffled papers. So, and apparently they were upset about the way she clapped at Donald Trump. And by the way, some on the left were excited about the way she clapped at Donald Trump. So
I don't know, Cenk. I feel like you're really you're grasping straws here with your argument. It's just your straw man argument.
And that's right. That's why there should be more money in politics, and the donors are always right.
And they pay me to spout these opinions.
Okay, so I guess to Ben's argument overall, I have this last thing to say. On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.